Now, speaking of I guess, sort of disappointments, let's talk about the pitching staff a little. Let's talk about Mike Pelfrey in particular. It's been a couple years now. People have just continued to wait for him to take that next step, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't happened on a consistent basis. I mean, do you think this is it for him as a Met? Do you think they'll try to move him this offseason? I mean, what's the solution here for Pelfrey?
I think maybe a new pitching coach would help. I really thought for a minute there going into the season that Pelfrey progressed last year. He took it was a breakout season for him. He could have won 20 games with a little luck if he didn't have such a horrendous July last year. But this year he's not helping himself at all. Mm-hmm. He's falling back into bad habits. He's not finishing off hitters. He's not finishing off innings. He's not fielding his position well, and he's letting runners steal on him all day long. He had a couple stolen bases tonight, including one on a pickoff where he had the guy dead to rights at first base, and then the guy still stole second base off him. So Pelfrey's not helping himself in a lot of ways. I don't think you're going to trade him because he's still upside to him. There's still an upside to the guy. He's young. He has a reasonable salary. He's healthy. So you're not going to trade him. Plus, their pitching depth in the minors, Wheeler, Harvey, they're all 2 years away.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're going to get from Johan Santana next year, if you're going to get anything at all. So I don't see them shopping Pelfrey. I'm seeing them keeping him and hoping he has a bounce back year.
Bounce back year, yeah. I mean, we'll see. And it's an interesting point you raise about the pitching coach because I believe Pelfrey was the one that politicked for the Mets to keep Worthen.
He did politic him. He really went on the limb to keep Dan Worthen. But Pelfrey has just not done it this year. He's just lost composure. He's flustered out there. He's not finishing off innings or hitters. He's falling behind on the count. He's not moving his pitches well in the strike zone. Everything that he was doing wrong before, he's doing wrong again.
Right. Now let's look ahead here a couple months, to the off season for the Mets. I'd like to say that the Mets, have more question marks than they do answers right now. If you look around their position players, the pitching, the bullpen, they've got a lot of things, in my opinion, to address this off season. What do you think is the number one priority? There isn't one thing that's going to cure this team, if you will, but what do you think that they'll probably try to do first this offseason? Is it Reyes? Is it a starting pitcher? Is it bullpen help, position player? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think they have to address Jose Reyes. Personally, I'm not sold on him returning. I think the last month or so has given us a picture of Reyes that we really don't want to see. He's been injured twice with the hamstring, the same hamstring. He's had a history of hamstring problems throughout his career, and he's also had a subsequent slump. So all that MVP talk, all that talk about, well, we got to keep Reyes, I think it's cooled a little bit.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, or ironically for the Mets, his injuries right now might help them keep him because it may lower the price in the open market where he might become a more affordable commodity for the Mets to have. I don't want Reyes back at 7 years. I just don't see he's worth that kind of money.
Right.
Because he's a guy that is 28 years old. Add 7 to that, he's going to be 35 years old, and he's a guy that makes his money with his legs. He's already shown a propensity for breaking down, and there's no way he's going to stay healthy for a 7-year contract. I don't see him getting $140 million either. Fred Wilpon was right. He's not going to get Carl Crawford money.
Right.
That being said, I think the Reyes is going to be their first item that they address. It has to be. But outside of that, Carell, it has to be pitching. There's been breakdowns in the rotation, and there's breakdowns in the bullpen. The bullpen broke down again tonight. They do need to address that area. I believe they have enough offense to overcome good starting pitching if they get it. But right now, their starting pitching is very questionable. Pelfrey's a question mark. Capuano's had a good year for them, but he's come out of nowhere. R.A. Dickey's taken a step back. John Neese has had a positive year. And where would they be without Dylan G?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he might be arguably one of the most valuable, important players this year. I mean, the man has 10 wins, and he wasn't even on the opening day roster.
yeah, yeah. No,
So
yeah, I know, absolutely right, absolutely right. So, hey, John, I got one more question before I let you go, and this is more of a general baseball question because you are a veteran in covering baseball. You've been doing it for many years, and me as a baseball fan, I want to know, out of all the years that you've covered baseball, is there one moment that sticks out that is like your favorite moment from covering baseball?
I would say it would be watching Cal Ripken break Lou Gehrig's record. I was covering the Orioles at the time, and to see the balloons go up and the crowd, and to see the countdown, knowing that it was a record that was going to be inevitable, to see it happen, and to be a part of that and watch him take that lap around Camden Yards was something special. That being said, the most stunning development I ever saw was in 2004 when the Yankees completely collapsed against the Red Sox in the season.
Yeah.
Ahead 3-0, they lost the next four. That was a stunning development to see that happen. But for one moment, one day, it would be Ripken's jaunt around Camden Yards after he broke Lou Gehrig's record.
Nice, yeah, interesting, and you got two events on both ends of the spectrum there. Very very interesting, very interesting.
But if you want to know one of my all-time favorite sporting events that I covered, it was the John Elway Drive game in
Wow. Okay.
Cleveland. And back then, when you covered the NFL, the last 5 minutes of the game, they would bring the riders down to the field, and so I watched as the Broncos drove all the way up and down that field, 98 yards, to tie the game
Wow.
behind the Browns bench. I must have learned 3 or 4 new curse words then. and and then I stayed on the field for the Broncos kicking the game-winning field goal. But that was one moment that I'll never ever forget.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Well, hey, John, I want to thank you for taking some time to chat with me. For those of you who are watching this video, you can check out John as he covers the Mets over at NewYorkMetsReport.com. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Carell. It's been a pleasure, and looking forward to doing it again with you real soon.
All righty.